Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are cracking open the latest Ronin Report debrief. This one is entirely focused on exactly how to scale your authority and your revenue. So let's just jump right in. Now, this specific debrief from August 20th, 2026, well, it isn't just your standard run-of-the-mill recap. The author actually presents it as a complete start-to-finish blueprint for both professional and personal mastery. We're going to pull apart exactly how they structure that blueprint, moving from some really high-level storytelling concepts all the way down into the gritty operational mechanics. Okay, here's our roadmap. We're hitting the comeback story framework, the victor identity, warrior versus wizard modes, protecting your business value, and finally, execution and community intel. All right, starting things off with Section 1, the comeback story framework and how building trust actually happens through setbacks. The report kicks off with this absolutely fascinating premise. It's never about who you are, it's always about who you're becoming. You know, the big insight here is that a perfectly polished highlight reel doesn't actually sell. People, they connect with the struggle, they connect with the evolution. Your comeback story, warts and all, is framed as your absolute most marketable asset, mostly because it demonstrates resilience and growth in a way that, well, perfection just simply can't match. So, to actually build that asset, the report outlines what it calls a mandatory three-act narrative arc. First up, you have the fall. That's your initial setback or failure. Next is the forge, which is that gritty, exhausting process of building a system out of literally nothing. And finally, you get to the rebuild, where you prove that your shiny new system actually holds up under extreme pressure. The major takeaway here? Start reframing your own past setbacks through this exact three-step lens. It's a game changer for turning your hardest moments into a rock-solid foundation for trust. Moving right along to Section 2, the victor identity, and really owning your narrative. Now, to actually survive that intense three-act comeback we just talked about, the report argues you absolutely have to make a specific mindset shift. It points out that a victim identity is basically just a description of your circumstances, the things that simply happen to you without any of your input. But a victor identity, that's a deliberate choice. It is entirely rooted in radical responsibility. The big idea here is that by taking ownership of your narrative, even the most painful parts, you actually create your own freedom to act and move forward. Okay, let's dive into Section 3, Warrior versus Wizard modes. This is all about modulating your operating state. Shifting gears into your daily operations, the report identifies two completely distinct states of being. Warrior mode is all about that locked-in, intense, heads-down focus. Wizard mode, on the flip side, is the total opposite. It's highly adaptable, super creative, and relies on fluid movement. But here is the fascinating catch. The report strongly warns that trying to run either of these modes 24/7, that's a one-way ticket to complete and utter burnout. So, the secret sauce is having total self-awareness. You really have to read the room, or in this case, your specific business environment, and know exactly when it's time to drop the sword and pick up the wand. True success relies entirely on knowing exactly when to pull that lever and switch states. It allows you to execute deeply when you need to and pivot creatively the second the landscape changes. This brings us to Section 4, protecting your business value through hard financial boundaries. When it comes to these financial boundaries, the report is absolutely ruthless. It advises that you should offer zero free or discounted work, yes, even to your close friends, until your business revenue reliably hits a threshold of $20,000 to $25,000 a month. It treats this revenue baseline as the point where your business's operational oxygen mask is securely fastened. Until then, no freebies. But wait, revenue isn't the whole story here. The report stresses that this revenue must also operate at a minimum 40% net margin. It practically demands that you do an immediate audit of any favor work currently sitting on your books. Because if you aren't hitting both that revenue tier and that very specific 40% margin, the free work simply has to stop. It's the only way the business can sustain itself long term. And finally, we arrive at Section 5, Execution and Community Intel. Let's look at putting these frameworks into action. It's always great to see theory actually put into practice, and this intel log highlights some massive community wins directly tied to the concepts we've been talking about. For example, look at Bhandari. She's actively using the comeback story framework to turn her bipolar journey into a published legacy book. Awesome, right? Then there's Akram, who is 80 days into a focused 90-day sprint and has totally transformed his sales operations after 13 years of struggling with inconsistent referrals. And we can't forget Christelle, who is successfully expanding her agency's nonprofit footprint with Bliss House Studios. The debrief also drops in a few really solid supplemental principles to keep your holistic life on track while you're grinding away. Things like progress over perfection, and my personal favorite, the clever mantra to take learn, drop the L, and just earn. It also heavily emphasizes balancing the 6 F's of a fulfilled life. That's faith, family, friends, finances, fitness, and, crucially, fun. Honestly, fun is usually the very first one we forget when we get insanely busy, isn't it? Now, the report wraps things up with an immediate execution checklist, so you can maintain all this momentum. It includes publishing all 14 platform outputs on the buffer schedule, confirming the webinar registration with Ronin Ben, and getting that September 3rd San Diego meetup on the calendar. But there's one fascinating detail here: the instruction to route a brand new framework called Head, Heart, Hand straight to the pending decisions file. Why? Simply because it doesn't have confirmed client proof points yet. Honestly, that is a brilliant lesson in operational discipline. Keep unverified systems out of your core workflow until they are 100% proven to work. As we wrap up this look at the Ronin Report, we're left with an incredibly provocative question to help you assess your own state. Take a hard look at your daily operations right now. Are you currently operating in warrior or wizard mode? And even more importantly, does it actually match what this specific moment in your comeback story calls for? Take some time to really reflect on that, adapt accordingly, and we'll see you in the next explainer.